So that's the autumn picture finished. Now I'm ready for the winter one. I've got the paper ready on the board, so let's go. First thing to do is to draw a line of trees on the right hand side towards the middle-ish, and some larger trees on the left hand side. Later on I'll put a figure in this, but the first thing to do now is the sky. I'm going to start off with mid blue, which is like cobalt blue, all across the top, using the pastel sideways on. Pressing a little bit harder at the top of the picture, not quite as hard lower down. Underneath that, a colder blue. And then underneath that, going from blue now into orange. Underneath the blue. Underneath that, a deeper orange. And where the orange meets the blue, white. And now I want to blend those colours together using my index finger, or any finger. If you don't like to use your finger for this, you can use a pastel shaper. I often use pastel shapers in smaller areas where the finger might just be a little bit too big or clumsy. Now this will take a little bit of blending, different directions. I'm trying to make sure that every little bit of the paper is filled in with the pastel, so I'm going in different directions. Well, that's okay for now. I'm going to put some clouds in there, so we'll start off with a deep pink, I think. A few fiery clouds. Using the pastel sideways on, and then very gently softening those, blending them into the sky. A little bit paler higher up, more of a creamy colour. It's a bit yellow, perhaps a little bit paler than that. I'll go over that with a bit of white as well. And underneath these pink clouds, I'll just have a bit of an edge to them, a lining. Now, working from the background into the foreground, there'll be some distant trees. So I've got a little bit of grey here, and I'm using that sideways on. And then smudge that upwards. Perhaps just vary the height a little bit here and there, so the height of the trees varies a bit. We'll start to put a bit of snow in. We'll start off with a blue-grey, very pale grey. Underneath those trees I've just drawn. A little bit of white. And darker greys. And I might just leave some of the grey of the paper showing through. The snow doesn't have to be white everywhere, the sun's gone down, so it's dusk, everything's beginning to go dark. And now some trees, starting in the middle distance, some nice rusty browns. Again using the pastel sideways on, not pressing too hard, and then gently smudge it outwards, a little bit higher so it comes above those background trees. And perhaps a little bit darker lower down. Different brown now. A few branches using the edge of the pastel, the sharp edge. Smudge those a little bit. Perhaps a little bit darker still, darker grey. A darker brown. And then if you want to, you can soften the edge of those with the finger or with the pastel shaper. Either of these will do. And just work your way around the tree, either with those. You can also take little bits of darker colour and use them with the pastel shaper to draw more finer twigs. Equally, you could use a pastel pencil or a charcoal pencil for fine twigs and branches, and a bit of black. Smudge that around a bit. Don't need to make too much sense of this, it's just an impression. Just using the sharp or the fine edge of the pastel to indicate a few branches covered in snow or frost. And then a few trees on the left hand side here as well. And just softening the edge of the twigs on the edge of the tree. A few little bits of snow here and there. Use the pastel pencil or the charcoal pencil just to indicate a few finer branches and twigs. Then there's going to be a man and his dog coming into the picture here, and this figure is going to interrupt that horizontal there, so I want the head above there, head and shoulders above there. I'm just going to very carefully, lightly just draw him in, an oval shape for the head, curved shoulders, his head's down, hunched against the cold, one hand in his pocket, the other arm holding a stick, legs tapered, narrowing at the base as he's walking towards us. So we'll give that coat some colour, give him a brown coat I think. Just got to be a little bit careful using the hard edge so that you don't go over the coat into the snow. Just darken that a little bit with a darker brown. Darker on the left, away from the light. And trousers, dark grey. We'll just make one leg slightly lighter and longer than the other, and that should make him look as if the stuff is walking towards us. So the back leg is a bit darker. Let's try a pink. A bit light perhaps, that's a bit darker, deeper. Hat and his arm. And I'll use the pointed pastel shaper just to work that into the paper a little bit. Very carefully, just pressing the pastel down. As my finger would be too clumsy for working in this small area. And a nice bright red scarf, because he's a Liverpool supporter. Just a little bit of red. Then he wants a stick, and I'll do that with the pastel pencil. Nice and sharp. And then the dog. One leg slightly longer than the other. I'll just put a little bit of darker pastel over the dog, a little bit of dark brown, very carefully on the body. And then these figures need some shadow. At the moment they're floating, they need a little bit of dark underneath them, or darker colour, just to ground them. Maybe the suggestion of a path. And then just soften those shadows with the shaper. So they're on their way home for the tea, and I think that is about finished. So I started off drawing the line of the trees on the right hand side, the trees on the left, the trees in the middle, working from the top down, from the background into the foreground, so the blues into the oranges, a little bit of snow, trees on the right, trees on the left, and then finally finishing off with the figures and the shadows.
Now available to buy. Try these techniques at home whenever you wish. The extended DVD of today's workshop is now available from the Painting and Drawing channel. For further information and to order your copy, go to www.paintingdrawingchannel.com.